Nation. How's it going, everybody? We are here tonight, whenever you tuned in for the Guru Nation podcast, episode 2 of the new year 2021, which we are hoping is a lot less crazy than 2020. Can't make any promises, though, so we're
not off to a good start. So
right. Yes, indeed. But but for the podcast, though, I'd say we're off to a good start because normally we're just kind of like in hibernation mode around this time of year. But no, we're all in. Our goal is to have an episode a week each week this year. And so joining me for episode 2 of this year is my co-host Josh Comeaux. Welcome back, bro.
I tell you what, I like the pause between the Guru and the Nation that you added. It's a nice little touch. But yeah, man, it's good to be back. Clearly, we had some success this year. We also had some failure, but we had some good success this year. So I'm already looking forward to next year. Can't wait. Super excited, and we'll see if we can hopefully have a year without COVID next year. Hopefully.
Right on, brother. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice to have a COVID-free season. But even with this crazy year, we managed. I mean, I said you got your hardware laid out. I was like, bring the hardware, brother. Let's show off the bling. Let's show the people what we want. Because I mean, I tell you what. I had a really nice year. I had a big shake back because 2019, I had a kind of a really off year for my standards. I mean, hell, I'm going to have my own podcast, so I feel like I need to know what the hell I'm doing. I mean, in 2019, I still competed in leagues, but I didn't really, I only won one title and just had an overall down year for my standards. But this year, joined a couple new leagues. Like, man, I'm going to up my game. I'm going to challenge myself, joined even more leagues, 13 leagues in total. I might have to cut back on that a little bit for for next season. But anyway, yeah, I had a successful year. Made the playoffs in 8 leagues. You know, had a 10 winning records, and took home 3 titles. So I was really pleased about that. So how'd you do, Josh?
So I can't really talk too much. I was in 10 myself. I'm probably gonna cut back a little bit as well, but I mean, I really didn't mind too much. I actually made the playoffs in every single league that I was in, which is awesome. I ended up making the championship in 3, and then I won 2. So can't complain. I would have loved to have had a little bit more success, just because when you make the playoffs in 10 leagues, you know it's your year that year, right? And so you want to try to win as many of them as you can. You want to get – that's the one time you really, really want to get greedy, and you want to try to win as many as you can, because most of the time when it comes to fantasy luck, if you make the playoffs in that amount of leagues, the next year you're probably just not going to do as well. That's just how it normally goes. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping, I can still stay successful. But most of the time, that's just how the fantasy gods – that's just how they do it. So I was hoping to have a little bit more success, but hey, I ended up winning 2, made it in 3, so can't complain. I'll take it. It was a good year.
Yes, indeed, most definitely, man. Yeah, congrats to you and everyone that took home their titles. I know myself, I took home a title I've really been looking forward to, y'all, and that's the Instagram Experts League. Been a member of that league since 2015, I believe. Yeah, 2015. This was year 6. I had 2 runner-up finishes, 2 third-place finishes. I was like, come on, man. It was like Heartbreak Hotel, and then I just could not catch a break. It was just every year it seemed like something would go wrong for me in the playoffs, and I was just like, man. And then last year I bottomed out. My first 4 years I came really close. Then last year I think I swung for the fences too much because I was fed up about all the heartbreak. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go bold and take a bunch of upside picks, even early. I tried, the Joe Mixon thing and all that, and it just did not work out.
Right.
But this year, I was like, you know what, we're getting back to our roots, because we did really well those 4 years. It just didn't really work out, but we had good squads, and that's all you can do. It's stupid that just because you fall a little short, don't throw your whole strategy out the window. Definitely stick to your strategy of taking your core players and just tweak it, little by little. Don't try to if you're doing well in your leagues, don't make wholesale changes. Like if you're consistently at the bottom of your leagues, and of course, make wholesale changes, try and do something different to spark your squad to get back to the top. But if you're doing well and just having a lot of heartbreak, it's tough to swallow, but just try to make little tweaks. Don't get all emotional and just totally throw your strategy out the window. So we tweaked it though, and in this year and got the dub. Had some really good players. I mean, that's like I'll shout out my man AK Alvin Kamara, baby. I mean, 6 touchdowns in week 16. Just like
he won this one.
Just unbelievable what he did. I mean, it's just like, man.
And what's crazy is I actually had Alvin Kamara both the last 2 years in this league and won both in this. So I guess if I have the top pick next year, I guess I have no choice but to pick Alvin Kamara. I mean, I might as well just keep rolling with him because even though he's not my number one, I mean, in this league, I might as well. He's killing it in the last 2 years, and he's been carrying the team. But going back to your point, I feel like if you're making the playoffs, your strategy's working, right? And then after that, every team that makes the playoffs, for the most part, is going to have talent on their roster. It's going to have a good team. Then it's all just in the hands of the fantasy luck after that. I mean,
Yes.
So I feel like if you're making the playoffs, you're doing good. Stick with your strategy. So big congrats to you, man. I know you've been wanting to win that league. So
oh man,
I know you were really happy to finally get it done.
Yes, sir. Been really wanting that league for a while now. They got it done. Hopefully, I don't know if they got a trophy. Gonna hit up Rob from State of Mind. He's the founder of it. I don't think we have a trophy, but like it's a lot of.
I need to get one, man.
I know, man. A lot of honor and bragging rights. We need to get one made. Hey, I'll start it. Everyone pitches in. I can go get one made. Kind of like you got there. For our the Dirty Dozen League when you started, took home that trophy league, and I'm gunning for it next year, man. I'm gunning for it next year. Got some good keepers lined up. Got Josh Allen, baby. It's a keeper league, so I mean, I'm ready, man. I'm ready, but yeah. So for this show, we'll start it off. I mean, we're gonna talk a little more about 2020, just kind of how we did in our leagues, and kind of some players, that hit and some players that sunk, because we had a few leagues that didn't pan out exactly to plan. I mean, and then after that, we'll touch on 21, kind of talk about which players we're kind of liking for next year. I mean, I know it's really, really early. I mean, the NFL playoffs haven't even ended yet. I mean, we're only one round through at that. And that's what we'll do to cap it off. We'll preview the divisional round games, because our very own New Orleans Saints are still in the mix, hoping we can go all the way.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, we'll get to that to cap it off. But yeah, let's finish this 2020 thing. I guess some players for me, I had to shout out Alvin, and another I just mentioned Josh Allen, keeper in your league, and he helped me not only in that league, but he helped me in several other leagues bring home the IGX leagues. The other 2 leagues I won, I believe Allen was my quarterback. Him and Diggs, Stephon Diggs. That combination led me to a lot of fantasy wins this year. And I tell you what, that's a duo that was if you were able to obtain them, you likely, if you didn't win, you at least made the playoffs, because they were good value picks. I mean, they were good value picks, and they delivered elite production. So it's like, I'd say, next year, those are guys that, like, we're shouting them out for this year. Enjoy that while it lasts, because next year, you're going to have to pay a high premium to get those 2.
Wow, and look, I specifically remember having an episode where we talked about Lamar Jackson, and I said it in the episode. You won your leagues the year before because you didn't because you didn't draft Lamar Jackson in the second round. Yep. Because you drafted him either at the end of your draft or you were able to get him in free agency. I made the same point about a guy, specifically about Josh Allen, where you were able to get Josh Allen in your leagues this year, 12, 13, 14, 15, at the end of your drafts, and look what happened. So next year, don't go out there picking Josh Allen in the third round and expecting to win your leagues because you picked Josh Allen third round. It doesn't work like that. Yes. You don't have to always give that high price for those quarterbacks just because they had a really good year last year. Next year, you're going to be now next year, we're going to be looking for a guy in the 14th, 15th, 16th round to pick that's going to be able to put up almost the same kind of production or somewhere up to it that's going to win you your fantasy leagues. And so I'm really excited about Josh Allen, though. I was really excited to see how much he blew up this year, especially knowing how late we were able to get him in drafts. You were talking about you're going to be able to keep Josh Allen in my league. I'm actually going to be able to keep Stephon Diggs. So I'm really excited about that combo going forward. I think they're coming.
Yeah, they're here. They're here. Yeah, we'll see how they do in the playoffs. I kind of think the Ravens could upset them. We'll get more to that to cap off the show. There's a little teaser there. They might have some upset picks in the works for y'all. Yep. But yeah, as far as fantasy this year, another quarterback I'd like to shout out is Kyler Murray. All K1 had a great season. Started off the year guns ablaze and had a little bit of a rocky finish though. He was battling through some injuries, but he played through the pain and still had an elite season. And I'll tell y'all what, I mean, Kyler Murray, for where you got him, around the 6th to 8th round, like mid rounds, like he delivered great value. And I'll tell you what, for next year, considering he didn't quite hit his potential this year, you might be able to obtain him still at a pretty good rate next year. Because I have a feeling Mahomes and Allen are going to be the consensus top 2, but I feel like Kyler is just as good, if not better, than them for fantasy because of his rushing.
Right. No, I agree. You're still going to probably be able to get him. I'm going to predict somewhere around the 6th, 7th round next year. I actually feel like him and Lamar Jackson are probably going to be going around the same area next year, and that actually boosts Lamar Jackson's value because I do think he's going to have a bounce back year next year. We're seeing right now, literally at the end of the year, he's been playing better, and he had his big playoff win last week. I think that's going to help boost his confidence. We'll see how he does against the Bills this weekend, but just that one playoff win, getting that monkey off his back, I think is going to help him tremendously. And you're going to be able to get him at a much better price next year than you did this year, which is going to obviously bring up his value a lot. Man, another quarterback I want to bounce on is Justin Herbert, man.
Yes.
Look, that's the epitome of not paying a high price but getting way past your value.
Yeah, you get him for free.
You got him for free. Yeah. Absolutely. Anyone that had him on their team, for the most part, unless you were in like a super deep dynasty league, anyone that had him on their teams, you probably picked him up off a waiver wire. And it doesn't get any better than picking up a quarterback off a waiver wire that's consistently putting up 30 points a game every week for you. I would imagine most teams out there that had him on their team or that won a championship probably had Justin Herbert on their team. The kid came out on fire and just looked absolutely incredible. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with him next year. I do feel like he's going to be very much overpriced. You're probably going to have to take him pretty early, so I'm most likely not going to have him in any league already. But it is what it is, man. I'm very excited to see what he can do with that team.
Right, yeah, definitely. And this kind of shouting out guys that did well in 2020. And actually another player I got to shout out, man, and speaking of players you get for free, James Robinson. I unfortunately didn't have him in that many leagues. Had him in a league and team did really good. Unfortunately, one of those ones that was a heartbreak. Got bounced in the semis despite having a stacked deck. I mean, I went up against, I think, some team that just ran into a buzzsaw. I mean, that can happen in the playoffs. But, I mean, James Robinson, I know his last couple games kind of banged up. But, I mean, I tell you what, he had such a great year this year. And, I mean, hopefully the Jags will commit to him next year. Because, I mean, for those that haven't heard yet, Urban Meyer hired as head coach. And, of course, they've got first pick. They'll have Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, hopefully Herb likes what he sees from James Robinson. I mean, he looked really good on film. Looks like a complete every down back. I mean, he could have some serious upside in that offense because he'll not only get the yards, but he'll also, in a more explosive offense, get double-digit touchdowns, I would think.
So, and some more catches out of the backfield potential.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, who knows? We don't know what Urban Meyer is going to do. That's a complete wild card. We don't know what kind of offense he's going to run, or he's going to want to run a committee back. So if I have James Robinson in Dynasty, I'm a little nervous about that, but it's definitely, though, it's like, it could pay off big, It could pay off big.
He's going to be a bona fide first round pick next year, if as long as
it
looks like he's going to be the workhorse going.
For sure. And then another running back I'd like to shout out that brought home a couple of titles for me was Nick Chubb. I mean, because I had Nick Chubb in some leagues, and granted, it was frustrating while he was out, but I was like, I tell y'all what, if I can just navigate these waters while Chubb's out, these 4 or 5 weeks he missed, if I can just navigate these weeks, just tread water, and then make the playoffs, I might be able to win these leagues. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Didn't get number 1 seed in either league, just kind of snuck in both. But my team with Chubb in the playoffs, it went off, baby. And Nick Chubb, let's go. He is so good. He is a locked and loaded first rounder next year for me, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be a top 5 pick. I mean, Nick Chubb has always been one of my favorite running backs since the moment he came into the league to watch. And now he's exploding as one of the best running backs in the league, and one of the best fantasy running backs you can say, as long as he stays on the field. Now, he kind of gets banged up every year for the most part. He'll miss a few games for you, but I mean, the kid he's incredible. Even with Kareem Hunt back there, you got to think, Kareem Hunt is an excellent running back. People forget just how good Kareem Hunt is, and literally Nick Chubb does not miss a beat. This guy he's arguably the best runner in football. I mean, it's either him or Derrick Henry. So he's a top 2 actual runner of the football, but he actually gets a few catches here and there sprinkled in. So I think he's going to be a bona fide top 5 pick next year, maybe even top 3, depending on how you feel about him.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I mean, hey, he's incredible. He truly is an incredible running back. I think as long as he stays on the field all 16 games for your fantasy season, I don't see why he won't be a top 3 running back next year.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's just, with Dalvin Cook, Kamara, CMC will be back in the mix. Derrick Henry. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, another one that had a huge rookie year. Him and DeAndre Swift. Swift did really well as a player I was high on this year. But I tell y'all what, if I'm being real, I mean, I was thinking Swift over Taylor because I was thinking with the Colts it'd be a committee with Marlon Mack. But
Which
I mean,
it was. Well, not
for
with
1 week,
Mack,
yeah. I mean,
not with Marlon Mack, but it was.
Yeah, well, they were stubborn. It took them a while to unleash Jonathan Taylor, that's why I was kind of nervous about him. But once they unleashed him, man, he exploded onto the scene. He looks like a bona fide stud.
Yeah.
So I mean, he looks like the best. I mean, I like Clyde. I still like Clyde moving forward in the Chiefs' offense, but he doesn't really look like that true workhorse Jonathan Taylor. He just looks so freaking good. I know I had him on one of my championship teams, and hopefully I'll have him on some more next year. The only problem is, man, his with that freaking 250-yard performance against Jacksonville, that really padded his end of year numbers to where people are gonna now. It's not a secret anymore. He's now gonna be a first round pick in every league, no matter the size. Unless you're like in a 4-man league. I mean, 8-man league or higher, he's a first rounder for show. It won't even be close. I mean, he might end up being a top 5 pick. I saw a big board the other day. I think it was Adam Rank or something, one of those big industry guys. They had him, I think, 2nd.
Oh, that's
I was like, man, now y'all smoking dope. But it's like, man, it's like now you're not even getting him at it. Like the value's just completely gone. There's no value there anymore because now you're just betting on potential. Drafting him over the likes of Kamara and Cook, that's kind of a slap in the face to those guys because they not only are studs, but they're proven studs. Jonathan Taylor's a potential stud who I think will be there one day, an elite dynasty asset, obviously, but redraft, I'm not taking him that high.
Yeah,
not second overall.
That's what burns so many people, man. You buy way too much into the hype and you overpay for these guys, forgetting about the guys that have been so consistent for so long.
Yep.
And that's why guys like us, guys that literally commit to fantasy football for not just the season but during the off season. That's why we're in the playoffs every year. That's why we make playoff pushes pretty much every year, because we don't do stuff like that for the most part. I mean, sometimes we make mistakes, but we stay consistent with the consistent guys and pay good prices for them. And then, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that's facts, man. That's facts. I mean, not trying to sound like we know everything. No, I mean, there's obviously some things we don't know, but I mean, that's something that's a tip for y'all. And for this year, y'all, I mean, just kind of focus. We got a lot of this ended up being about next year because I mean, it's just next year the goal will be to just continue to improve the product. Just continue to grow, continue to just keep striving for greatness. And that's what we do over here. So, yeah, I mean, another, let's see, some receivers. I haven't talked too much about receivers yet, but a receiver I'd really like to shout out. I mean, we touched on Diggs. So another one, man, that just, I mean, he kept pushing, and then he had some injuries there, but he ended up having, a really, really good year for PPR. Deontay Johnson, I mean, Deontay just, he was very consistent, and I feel like with Juju likely on his way out, that Deontay Johnson, somebody that's really trending up and helped. I don't know. Did I have him on any championship teams? I don't think I did, but I had him on a lot of successful teams for sure. He was somebody that he battled through it. A lot of people were writing him off saying he was a bust because he got hurt in a couple games and was left a lot of points on the table. But in the second half, I feel like he was one of the best receivers to own in PPR.
Yeah, he's a stud in PPR, man. I will say I was definitely wrong about him. He's one of the ones that I can absolutely admit I was wrong about. I didn't think he was going to be this good, but no, after watching a couple games and watching him actually play and like seeing how he gets his targets from Big Ben, yeah, going forward, man, he's absolutely a wide receiver too, at least going into next year, man. The kid's really good.
Yes, sir. Yep. And so a couple tight ends. Like a tight end that really did good down the stretch. Logan Thomas. Logan.
Man.
The Washington football team. Somebody I was thinking would just be a fantasy graveyard, kind of like the Jets or something.
Not anymore, man.
But they would go with Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. He's gotten them pretty good, pretty good. That's a team that like if they play their cards right and get the right quarterback, I think they could be something special next year because they've got a good defense. They've got some good skill players. Scary Terry, Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, who had a brilliant second half.
Even J.D. McKissick. You were able to put him in your flex every now and then and get you a touchdown or two.
He had
7 catches.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought McKissick up. He had like 80 catches this year.
Yeah.
Because, Gibson, I don't think was quite comfortable enough to be the every down back. But with McKissick there, that was like a really good duo.
Yep.
So, that basically all they need now is a number 2 receiver and a quarterback. Unless they think Taylor Heineke's the answer.
Yes, sir. Give that man a chance next year. He proved it. Come on, man. Look what he did against Brady. Give that man a chance next year.
I respect it, man. I was have to have a Heineken for Heineke, man. He really turned up in that one. I got to give the man credit where credit's due, but it's just, I think, though, I'm not trying to rain on your parade, Josh, but I think there might be a little bit of recency bias talking
I'm
there.
Okay with it.
Man, like somebody will say, my buddy Justin Fantasy Follow messaged me the other day. It was like, Heineke the next Minshew. I was like, he might, be like the, cult figure, legend type thing. But as far as like fantasy, with Minshew, that was a good story. But come on, he was not a fantasy asset. That was wishful thinking. We'll see. Heineke, I don't even know if he'll get the start, but if he does, good for him. He can run it a little bit. He kind of reminds me of Minshew in that regard. But what limits Minshew is just his arm. He just doesn't have the arm of your typical pro quarterback.
He doesn't have amazing weapons, and that was my point going into the season when we were talking about Minshew. Is I got no problem with Minshew, but his team sucks.
They were tanking. He was in a no-win situation. I was just thinking, he had enough to maybe do something, but I just don't think his skill set was very conducive to DJ Chark. DJ Chark's a deep guy. He's somebody that with Trevor Lawrence, I think could really blow up next year.
It's possible.
So that's definitely Jacksonville's going to be a team we'll be talking about a lot for. That's going to be a really interesting group for sure. Another tight end I'd like to shout out real quick before we totally lock in on 21, because I know a lot of y'all like that listen. Kind of joke they were the degenerates. The ones that play all year. We 2020. It's fun to talk about, reminisce, but the bottom line is they're already ready for 21. But for those that are still wanting to soak in 2020, like Eric Ebron is somebody I've got to shout out because he was somebody that wasn't. He held it down though. He's somebody he wasn't that good, but he held it down at tight end.
Just imagine if he didn't drop 20 passes a game.
I know, man. That's what I'm saying, man. The Steelers. It's like they were such a high volume offense. Like they should have been so much better for fantasy. They should have been like an elite fantasy offense because they throw so damn much. They have no running game. James Conner. Oh yeah, we still got to get the players that sunk us. So we gotta let's give Ebron his little props, good job, Eric Ebron. He held it down for me at tight end in some leagues. I appreciate that. Robert Tonyan, somebody that really blew up though because of his touchdowns, man. Just somebody that just kept finding the end zone. Aaron Rodgers really turned up as a result. Tonyan blew up as well. We talked about Mike Evans. A receiver, one more I like to touch on. Brandon Ayuk is somebody that really impressed me this year because Deebo Samuel just couldn't stay on the field. He's really good when healthy, but the bottom line is he was not healthy this year, hardly at all. And as a result, Ayuk really stepped up and took the bull by the horns and showed. I think going into next year, he's a WR2 with upside. This guy is really something special. He's athletic. He's in a good system. That Shanahan offense is always coming up with something new, creative. It's an innovative system, and hopefully they'll have an upgraded quarterback. So I like Ayuk next year, and Debo too if healthy. But Ayuk, somebody I got to shout out because he helped me out in a lot of leagues down the stretch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depending on their quarterback situation, what happens there. I mean, you'll be able to get him for sure at least at flex spot, if not even later in your drafts. And he looked really good. So yeah, he could absolutely blow up next year, depending on what they do at quarterback.
Yes, sir. Yeah, a couple guys I say we won't spend too much time on the ones that sunk. That they had a couple, man. Zeke and Julio down the stretch really sunk a lot of
Yeah.
people because I mean they were guys that drafted high, and they stayed healthy through for the first half. Had solid first halves. Thinking they'll, they're guys we can count on. Guys that are solid, but they crapped out. They crapped out big time. Julio's hamstring kept flaring up. He had a horrible second half. I think he only played in like 2 or 3 games. Zeke, I think, had some sort of quad injury thing. He was always banged up. Just, man, this is terrible stretch runs for those guys. I mean, Zeke, somebody I think could bounce back. Julio, though, it's like with his age, I'm concerned moving forward. But I mean, yeah, it's just guys. If you had him though for this year, you're probably not drafting him next year because man, that's just they really they really pissed me off. And I mean, they had one league, the league I had Chubb and Jonathan Taylor. Also had Zeke. I had a freaking stacked running back group. But I actually didn't even play Zeke in the championship or Julio, but I still managed to win, because I had Allen and Diggs as well. I mean, that was a weird team. I managed to have some really good, like all my guys in like rounds 3 to 6 were amazing, and then like my first 2 picks were sucky down the stretch, just terrible. So that's just the way it goes. And then the first rounders that really shit the bed, CMC and Michael Thomas, just injuries. They just couldn't get on the field. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, though, I mean, still props to him. When he played, he was still elite.
Put up over 30 points almost every
I know,
time.
it's unbelievable. And I mean, I really can't guard Michael Thomas, one of my favorite players. But I mean, I gotta admit, man, even when he was healthy, he was not his usual self. Didn't catch a single touchdown in the regular season. I mean, I'm starting to wonder if he's still worth a first rounder next year, especially if Drew Brees retires, like we're thinking.
You still thinking about that? No.
I've seen him still go for first round in some like early 21 mock drafts. I've seen a lot of times he's the second wide receiver off the board, and to me that's a bit even. And I mean, I'm a huge Michael Thomas fan. I'll rep his jersey a lot of times. I mean, I think he's great, but as far as fantasy next year, yeah, first round is, to me, is just too rich for my blood. I stayed away from him this year, so I mean, I would say it's players that he didn't sink me because I mean I stayed away. I didn't own a single Michael Thomas share in 13 leagues. Didn't own a single Thomas share because I felt like he was getting overdrafted. I was not gonna pay 4th overall draft capital for a receiver. Right. I don't care how good he is. I mean, even Devontae Adams next year, I know he's going to be a really high pick, but I probably won't be having him in any leagues because I have a feeling people are going to be drafting him over the likes of, Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, and I'd probably rather just go with Henry or Chubb since they're they're in what's such a thin running back pool with more and more running back by committees, which I touched on in last week's video. Just how the league's becoming more and more about running back by committee. So, I mean, receiver. I mean, and Mike. Yeah. Anyway, the point is Michael Thomas. I think he'll shake back next year, but depending on the quarterback, I don't know where he's gonna go. I mean, it's very iffy. I don't know if he's to me. He's my WR4 right now for next year overall, but that might be a bit of a stretch, just because we don't know what's gonna happen yet. So that's part of it. We're just speculating right now. We're just kind of just getting our feet wet type thing. We got a whole
off season to.
Exactly. Y'all don't stress. For those of y'all watching, just it's the off season. Kick back, relax, enjoy some playoff games, y'all. It's we're just kind of getting the wheels churning. We're not ready to get on the track yet. We still got several months before we got to worry about getting on the big racetrack where we're gonna have to really get locked in and get the winning titles. But we're but definitely keep tuning in though. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and all that. But we'll handle the rest of the housekeeping at the end of the video, and we'll go ahead here now and get into any players that sunk you, Josh, that you like to kind of vent about.
Zeke was one of them. You touched on Zeke. I didn't own any Julio shares. Michael Thomas, I had one share of him, but it's because I traded for him when he was hurt. And I didn't have to give up a crazy value. I think I gave up Austin Eckler, who got hurt immediately after I traded him. But then he did come back and have a pretty decent second half of the season. So that was the only share I had him in, but it really didn't hurt me that much. Honestly, No, not. I mean, I had Saquon in a dynasty league, but I was able to get rid of him, so that didn't hurt me too much. I actually had Saquon, Kittle, and Kenny Galladay. Got rid of all three of them.
How'd you manage that?
Trading.
Man,
I'm a good talker.
Man, that's Josh trade raping people.
Hey, look, man. I just throw the bait out there. If a fishy bites, I'm gonna go ahead and pull her on up. That's just how I roll.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. But other than that, I don't really think that anybody really burned me. I mean, like I said, I made the playoffs in all 10 leagues. So in order to do that, you don't really get burned too much by players. I will say I had very successful drafts this year. I didn't really buy anybody super high that killed me. Even in the league where I had Christian McCaffrey, I had really good backups, so I was able to still make the playoffs. So I guess you could say Christian McCaffrey burned me because I did have him in 3 leagues, and assuming he plays in those 3 leagues, maybe I win 5 championships. I don't know. He is that good, so maybe you could make an argument that he burned me a little bit. But other than that, not really, man. One player we forgot to mention earlier. I just want to throw out a quick shout out to Calvin Ridley because not only did he blow up, he exploded this year.
Yeah, he took advantage of Julio's
and I'm sure there's someone watching
this
that's screaming at the camera, or screaming at the screen right now, wanting to shout out Calvin Ridley, upset that we didn't. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Calvin because he that kid blew up.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get burned too much this year. I got a little lucky with that.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, a lot of guys, because it seems like some of the guys that a lot of the guys we anticipated to blow up. Even a guy like David Montgomery, somebody like, it took him a while, but once he got going, he really got going. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of this, but 2020 was a rough year for a lot of guys, but for some, it was a coming out party, so that was great to see. I tell you what, a weird scenario, or not a scenario, just a weird thing that happened was the decline or the collapse, really, of the Seahawks offense. What the hell happened there? I mean, yeah, it started off amazing. It was like a tale of two halves. It was the let Russ cook movement. All the Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett owners were like riding high, riding the wave, thinking they were going to just cruise to the championship with that group. Yep. And then the second half comes along, and it's like they can't do anything. It's like they forgot how to move the ball, and as a result, Brian Schottenheimer, their OC, got canned, which I was glad because, I mean, he had been there for 3 years, and it seems like every year was just they'd get back to that fire and brimstone. We got to run the football, and it's like, I mean, but it's like you've got Russell Wilson. It's like you can't. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole type thing. It's like you gotta fit your offense to the personnel you have, and good coaches realize that. It's these stubborn coaches though that they gotta try to shove their system in place, but it's like the smart coaches know you've got to kind of work your system around your personnel and let your personnel excel to the best of their ability. And Schottenheimer clearly not the answer in Seattle. So glad that he's gone. Hopefully they'll get a better OC next year to really let Russ cook. Because, I mean, when Russ is cooking, he's an elite quarterback. But, I mean, it's just when he's off, though, man, he's kind of the type that snowballs on him, it seems like. It's just, I like him. But, man, he's got hopefully they can find the right guy to get him right. Because he's got so much potential. But I feel like a lot of years he leaves some stuff on the table. Just because a lot of times he'll have some great runs, and then other times it's like he just gets in a rut. I don't know. It's weird.
He almost reminds me of a streaky shooter in basketball, where when he's on, and he's one of the best. But boy, when he starts, like you said, man, when he starts getting off, I don't know what it is, man. He looks like a totally different quarterback. He just misses easy throws, back to back to back to back, and you're just sitting there like,
threw a lot of picks this year.
Who is this guy? Yeah, that was one of the biggest. I don't know what you want to. I don't want to call it a meltdown, but I mean the difference between the first half and the second half was so huge. It was one of the biggest drop offs I've seen in a long time.
I know, and if you had him, it was probably you didn't want to trade him. Like, 'cause I didn't recommend trading him. I figured, he'll shake back, he'll snap out of that funk. I remember when him and Kyler Murray were slumping, I think someone asked me, I was like, well, I'd keep Russ. He's the more proven veteran. But Kyler actually was able to shake back more than Russ did. I mean, Russ just had a terrible second half. But
if you traded Russ at the trade deadline, most likely you got the win out of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you trade him thinking he's going to tail off. I mean, he didn't just tail. I thought he might tail off a little bit, but he fell off a cliff. But But anyway, yeah, that's just reality. Sometimes that can happen. But yeah, let's. I mean, it is. I mean, a couple more. I mean, a couple that I just really whiffed on. I mean, I cut bait with him early. I mean, they didn't really mess me up too much. But yeah, like Tyler Higbee was a total disaster. I mean, a lot of tight ends were disasters. So Hayden Hurst, another one, total disaster. I mean, so yeah, it's just the way it goes. I mean, sometimes it's just tight ends are hard to predict. Kenyon Drake, somebody that didn't really live up to expectations. James Conner really stunk it up down the stretch. Another Seahawk, Chris Carson, struggled there. I mean,
he struggled to stay on the field. Man.
I know, man, just a terrible.
Tough.
Yeah, he's just. I don't know. He's a free agent. It'll be interesting to see what they do in Seattle because I mean that's kind of a rough situation there. Another Devontae Parker, another one that really struggled and. The Dolphins picked third overall due to the Texans. Those are the Texans. That's just a total disaster. But they might get Devontae Smith though, Miami, and that's the case. And so much for Devontae Parker being number one. I mean, Devontae Smith is just. I mean, he's an elite athlete, truly someone that I feel will be able to step in and be a number one receiver from jump.
Yep. Absolutely, I agree, man. Devontae Smith looks like a stud. But, hey, to be fair, that could actually bump up Devontae Parker. It's possible, Maybe he's just not a guy that can be a 1. Maybe he's a guy that can be an excellent 2. We've seen it before, It's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Man, somebody, not he didn't burn me because I didn't actually get him in a lot, but someone that I was lobbying for this year that really had an inconsistent year was Christian Kirk, man.
Oh,
I thought he was going to
really
blow up this year. And it's crazy because Kyler had such a huge year. I mean, they were throwing the ball a shit ton. They had a really good offense.
Nuke Hopkins, I mean, had a really good year his first year with the Cardinals.
Like nothing was going to Christian Kirk. I mean, he had a couple weeks where he had some very good games and he showed like how good he can be. But, man, other than that, he was nothing, man. And then we spoke on Juju earlier, man. If you pick Juju really early, you got burned on him because he was. Yeah,
he's still more worried about TikToks than he is about actually playing freaking garbage.
Hey, man. But we saw some upside Claypool.
Watch out for him. Yeah. Hopefully Juju will be gone, then I can Deontay and Claypool get all the targets.
He had a rough last 5 games, or last 4 or 5 games of the season, roughly. But man, he had a stretch where he was really good. He was excellent. So you look for him next year. Him and, like you said, Deontay Johnson.
Good deal. All right, well, yeah, we've already touched a lot on next year, so we'll just do rapid-fire rankings here before we get into the divisional round preview. So let's go here, rapid-fire quarterback. I'll go with my top 5 and see what you think, if there's any like to throw in. I say number 1, gotta go with Patty Mahomes. He's so good, so consistent. Number 2, gotta go with Kyler, man. I really love the dual threat ability. I feel like Kyler is truly a top 2 to 3 quarterback. Number 3, got to go with Josh Allen. I feel like it's really close between those 3. And then number 4, Deshaun Watson. I mean, Deshaun Watson is so consistent, so slept on by his own team. Yep. The Texans, his own team is sleeping on him, I feel like. So, and there's a chance that he's unhappy. He's kind of barking for a trade, and I can't really blame him. If he gets traded at the right spot, he might be up there with those top 3. Because, I mean, he's really good. And number 5, I mean, we discussed him a little bit earlier, Lamar Jackson. I mean, the rushing, 2 back-to-back, 1,000-yard rushing campaigns. I know he's not much of a passer, but with his rushing ability, he's definitely still a QB1.
Yeah, the only thing that I was going to say was, if Deshaun Watson goes to another team, I would be comfortable putting him up there at 2 or 3. I mean, even without it, even on a terrible team that, like you said,
traded Hopkins away.
Yeah, that like you said, underestimates him. He still led the league in passing. The guy he's next level. He's absolutely incredible. I hope he gets out of there personally. He's my favorite quarterback in the league. He's been my favorite since he came into the league. I hope he gets out of there, and I hope he's able to find success somewhere else and get on a decent team where he can actually show his true potential. One guy I would say to look for next year, if he comes, assuming he comes back healthy, and assuming that they get him some more help in the draft, look for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was looking really good, and I've heard some reports that they might actually think about pairing up him with Jamar Chase in the draft.
That'd be nice.
If that were to happen, Man, look, with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd there and
T.
and
Higgins, he had a great year. Yeah,
man,
AJ
look,
Green will be gone, but he didn't have
don't
good chemistry with Burrow anyway.
don't be surprised if Joe Burrow blows up next year if he can, as long as everything goes good.
Yeah,
with the leg,
I'm a
he
little
can stay
concerned
on
about the
field.
knee. I mean, that
Right,
happened late
right.
in the season, so I mean, I don't know. He might have to start the year
That's
on the
more of a
pup
hot
list.
take,
But yeah, I mean, he could. I mean, if everything goes well with that rehab, him, Dak Prescott, another one that could get
Yeah,
back in the mix if
definitely.
the rehab goes well. What I'm expecting to fall off, is Aaron Rodgers. I know he had his MVP campaign this year, but I really don't expect him to repeat that. He's going to be almost, will he be 40 next year? He's going to be close to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he'll still be a QB1, but I think this year, guys, it was just one of those years everything went right for him. I missed on that. I was thinking he wouldn't do that well this year. I was thinking maybe they might just go ahead and trade him after this year, but he definitely showed he's still the franchise quarterback, still an elite quarterback. But for fantasy though, he doesn't run as much. I don't think he's gonna be top 5 next year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Good deal, man. Then running backs, we touched on this. I think Saquon though gets back in the top 5. That's somebody we kind of, because I'd say the top 4 make Kamara. CMC is actually my number 1 since I think he'll be back healthy. CMC, Kamara, Cook, Henry, and I gotta go with Saquon at 5 due to his receiving. Chubb's close, but I gotta go with Saquon. I feel like the Giants will beef up their O-line. They'll have some better support for him. I think Saquon will be just fine next year because his torn ACL occurred really early in the season. I think he'll be recovered and ready to roll for next year.
Yeah, I think if he comes back healthy, you're looking at another top 5 season for him. I think if Chubb stays healthy, I think you're looking at a top 5 season for him. Expect a little bit of a drop off from King Henry next year. As much as I hate to say it, I just.
Yeah, I mean, he's about hit his peak. I mean, he doesn't catch. That's a good point. King Henry might not be able to replicate what he did.
It's hard to think that he's going to be able to do that again next year. It's possible, but out of the ones you listed, he would be the one that I would take out of the top 5. I personally would switch Cook and Kamara. I have Cook as my number 2 going into next year. I agree with CMC being number 1. Also with Kamara, though, look at the quarterback situation. If it is Taysom Hill, he's going to have some games next year where he's going to blow up, but he might actually be a little more inconsistent next year than he was this year. That's just my prediction. If Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback, he might actually also bump out of that top 5. But yeah, other than that, I'm fine with that.
Right on. Then receivers, Devontae, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Mike Thomas, and Calvin Ridley for me. I have sneaking in the top 5. Really close, I'd say, though, between him and Nuke Hopkins. I mean, Nuke Hopkins, I feel like, could easily be top 5. And by the time, when it's all said and done, I might move him back. But the thing is, though, if Julio gets traded, then to me, Ridley is locked into with more upside than that. We'll just have to see how it goes. But, I'd say that those 6, I'd say, are all in the mix. But, as of now, that'd be my top 5.
Call me crazy, but I'm taking Ridley out of there. I don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. Now, if they keep Matt Ryan, I may change my mind on that. Because
clearly, that's a good point.
Because clearly,
Hopkins at this point is probably really the number 5. But Ridley's got so much upside.
Correct. And clearly, him and Matt Ryan have chemistry together. So if they keep Matt Ryan, I'll probably change my mind on that. But a guy like Hopkins, you want to put up there. I'm more willing to take also Mike Thomas out of there. Especially, like I said, if Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback next year, look for some inconsistent weeks out of him. He had a couple weeks where he scored like 19 with Hill, which is nice and everything. But he, too, will probably be pretty inconsistent next year just because the whole offense as a whole is probably going to be inconsistent if we end up starting Taysom Hill.
Yeah, that's true. I have to put Nuke 4th, actually.
Another guy that I'm actually looking to bump up there is Mike Evans. Mike Evans.
Oh, Mike Evans. Well, 42-year-old Brady. I don't know.
Mike Evans has some huge weeks this year, and he was pretty consistent pretty much all year.
Well, yeah, Godwin and AB are free agents.
Correct. And now you have a year under your belt with Mike Evans and Tom Brady. Tom Brady shows that I guess he can be 85 years old. He's still going to be throwing the ball. Who cares? So at this point, now Mike Evans and Tom Brady are going to have a whole year under their belt. They're going to have a whole another offseason under their belt. Look, man, I would be willing to put Mike Evans as a top 3 candidate next year. Look, I know it's a hot take. I would not be surprised. I came into the year thinking if Mike Evans and Tom Brady can have any kind of chemistry together, watch out. They showed that they have some and that it's growing. Man, watch out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, no, noted. We'll see if that energy continues into the off season here. We'll see, but I mean, yeah, I respect it though. It's good. I might as well have some hot takes. I might as well have some hot takes. I mean,
You know I love my hot
screw
takes,
it. I
man.
mean, it's January. I mean, why not? I mean, come on, y'all. So tight ends. Tight ends, I'd say my top five would be Kelsey. And I got a hot take, y'all. George Kittle gets back to being. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's like a super hot take, but I mean, I think if he stays healthy next year, he might pass Kelsey. You know, I said that this year. I mean, I love Travis Kelsey. He's as consistent as they come. But if George Kittle can stay healthy, don't be shocked if he's next year's overall tight end one. And then, I mean, Darren Waller's really consistent. I have him 3. And then Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson rounding out the top 5. But George Kittle, y'all, man, if he could just ever stay on the field all 16, that guy is amazing. He's so good.
So you know I love George Kittle as much as the next guy. He ain't passing up Kelsey next year. Kelsey has shown that as a fantasy player, he's in a class of his own. The guy is absolutely ridiculous. Now Kittle, well, if he stays healthy all year, he'll probably be the for sure number 2. But then again, we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as of now, definitely got to still have Kelsey.
Right, and
first.
but with Kelsey, we know what they got. We know it's Patrick Mahomes. We know that Patrick loves throwing him the football. I mean, he's going to continue to get peppered with targets.
Yeah, I think at this point, if Kelsey, let's say, is a wide receiver, right? Because I actually feel like he's slightly more valuable than Tyreek Hill. The only receiver at this point I'd take over him would be Devontae Adams. I mean, that's how good Kelsey is. But that's why I feel like, though, with Kelsey, will be a first-round pick. Kittle, I think, could actually end up being a better value because Kittle, you'll probably be able to get in the 3rd round, where Kelsey, you're going to have to pay that first-round
Kittle
draft
is going to be a way better value because Kittle, you say 3rd round. Don't be surprised if people aren't drafting Kittle till 5th, 6th.
Oh, give him to me all day, every day. I'm going to have a lot of Kittle shares next year. Then.
Yeah, Kittle's going to be a guy at the target next year. Another guy that I'm going to say watch out for top 5. It's another hot take here. But if he can stay healthy, Noah Fant.
Yeah, Noah Fant's
Noah Fant looked really good every time he was on the field. His problem was he had to deal with a lot of injuries this year. But, man, he looked really, really good. And them two kind of depend on what they do with their quarterback situation. We don't know if they're going to keep Drew Lock or if they're going to try to bring somebody else in. But, man, if they can bring somebody else in that's a really good Matt Stafford is a name that I've kind of been hearing thrown out there. If they were to bring somebody like that in there, man, look for Noah Fant to absolutely blow up if he can.
Yeah, I mean, if Hawk loses Stafford, Hawkins might fall out that top 5, and you might insert Fant. But I would think Stafford would stay because he's not the problem in Detroit. There's a lot deeper problems than him there.
But he might want out, man. It's him too. He's like Deshaun Watson, where completely understandable that it's time for those guys to go somewhere where they feel like they can push for a championship.
For sure. Yeah, I don't think he's he's kind of put up with it this long. And they're getting a new coach. I think it might depend on, actually, their new coach might be Dan Campbell, one of the Saints' top assistants. So, I mean, if he's a good leader, I mean, he might convince Stafford to stay.
Maybe.
So we'll just have to see there. But yeah, speaking of this, let's get into this divisional round, man. Let's get into this, see what we've got here. You got 4 games on tap. The first one is the Rams and the Packers. And we're going to start off with some heat. Hot take. I have the Rams taking down the bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Defense wins the championships. I've got them winning a nail-biter in Lambeau and moving on to the NFC Championship.
So I actually have the Packers win this game, but I think it's going to be a very ugly game. Like,
yes.
People are basically either picking the Rams to win or they're picking the Packers to win a blowout. I don't think.
Yeah, no, it will not be a blowout.
I'm predicting something more along the 17-14 range, somewhere around there. Obviously, if Aaron and Devontae can get going, then yeah, sure, it'll probably be a blowout. But I don't see it happening, man.
Yeah, just the Rams defense to me is too good for it to be a blowout. I mean, that's the best defense in the league. I feel like it might end up being the other way. I'm not saying it'll end up. Last year's NFC championship was the Packers 49ers. I think this year's Packers team's better than last year's. I mean, the 49ers blew out the Packers last year. I'm not saying the Rams are going to go into Lambeau and handle a business like that, but I think they'll handle business enough to get the dub because, I mean, Jared Goff will have another week to be more comfortable. Hopefully his thumb will be okay because, I mean, I feel like as long as his thumb's on his hand, I think he'll be okay because, I mean, He just, I mean, they've got playmakers, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers. I mean, their offense isn't great, but it's enough to get by considering just how strong their defense is. I mean, you've got their defense just, I mean, you've got studs all over the field. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, that linebacker that's really good. I was slipping his name, but I mean, they have that linebacker, the middle linebacker that's really good. I mean, they've got all kinds of talent on that team, man. I mean, the Rams are a team that's scary. And I mean, as a Saints fan, we can get past the Bucks, which I think we will. But I mean, I don't know who I'd probably rather the Rams just because then we get to be at home. But if it wasn't for that, I'd almost be more scared of the Rams than the Packers because I mean that defense is really nasty, and that's why I have them advancing. I mean that defense is something like, and I think the Lambeau weather is actually kind of conducive to that. The Rams, I know they play in LA, but I mean with that defense, man, that's I think they move on. We'll see, but I think they move on.
Okay.
And the next one that night will be the Ravens Bills, and I tell y'all what, that's another one I think could end up an upset because I think the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, again, defense. I know it's like the whole cliche about defense wins championships, but it's true more times than not. I mean, I think the Ravens with Lamar and that strong defense, that running game, I think there's a good chance they take Buffalo down because I mean Josh Allen, he's really good. He's got the golden arm, the cannon, but I don't know, man. In this guy, he hadn't been in this situation before. I think last week was his first playoff win, and I mean, I know it was for Lamar too, both young guns. But I mean, I just feel like Lamar's got a little bit better support with his running game and defense, to where I think they'll be able to edge out a win.
Yeah, I hate to say this because I want to pick the Bills so bad, but I have to agree. The Bills' defense is just really bad. It's
I don't know. It's really bad, but it's
bad,
I think it could get gashed by that Baltimore running game.
And so
for sure.
basically, I feel like the offense for both sides is good, the defense for the Ravens is good, and the Bills' defense is bad, and that's kind of why I'm barely giving the edge to the Ravens again. I feel like that's going to be another really close game, and I feel like the Ravens are going to pull it out.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know if they'll both happen. Like it's going to be tough for both upsets to happen, but I can almost guarantee you at least one of those upsets will happen. I guarantee either the Ravens or the Rams will be moving on. I just have a really good feeling, and I still think there's a good chance they both do. Because, I mean, they both match up good on paper. I mean, this is the kind of year where a lot of times the strong defensive teams go in and dethrone the teams that have been dominating on offense all year. And so the Sunday games, the first one will be the Browns and the Chiefs. And, I mean, the Browns, they're a good, feel-good story, but I feel like this one's going to end up a blowout. I just don't see them being able to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. Their defense is not anywhere close to where it needs to be. I feel like if it wasn't for all the turnovers, Pittsburgh could have easily beat them last week. I know it was a blowout on the scoreboard indicated, but I mean, if it wasn't for all those Big Ben picks, I mean, I don't know. I know the Browns are, like I said, a good feel-good story with Baker and all that, but to me, the Chiefs, that's running into a buzzsaw. I know there's a lot of Browns truthers out there, but I don't see this one being very close.
Browns will win. I'm just kidding. No, the Chiefs are absolutely going to win this game. I agree. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close. Expect Tyreek Hill to have like 3 touchdowns with 100 yards.
Yeah.
Because their secondary, the Browns secondary is just awful. So it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, in Baker, I mean, he's solid, but I don't think he's good enough to keep up with Mahomes. And then the running game, I mean, you gotta be somewhat in the game. They're gonna have to probably abandon the run, unfortunately. So it's just, I don't see.
Hey, look, if they can get started early.
Yeah,
sure,
they could get some turnover like they did against Pittsburgh. Yeah, they could maybe have a chance. But even with that, I remember that year the Texans were beating the Chiefs 24-7 or something. And Mahomes went, and then they ended up routing them. So I mean, I think if they do get the early lead, I don't think they'll win. I think that's the lock of the week for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last one, man, I'm so anxious for this, man. Saints, Bucks, the matchup number 3. We won the first 2, and it's a little nervous, facing the alleged GOAT, Tom Brady. I mean, I know he's got the postseason resume. I get it. It's not going to be an easy task, I don't feel like, but I feel like this, though, we have his number, and I think we're going to win number 3 over him this Sunday because I feel like with the way the Saints pass rush is, Tom Brady's gonna once he get that first sack on him, that's a wrap. You know, we got to get to him early and often because I feel like if he gets comfortable back there, we could be in trouble. I mean, I'm not taking this lightly. I'm not trying to act like he's a joke. I mean, even at 42 years old, this guy is still one of the maybe not top 5, but at least a top 10 quarterback in the league. But I mean, I still feel like Drew Brees' skill set. I know he's on his way out, probably going to retire after this playoff run, but I feel like he's still there. I think it's both quarterbacks are still playing at a solid level, but both have defenses to complement them. So I think it'll be a fairly close game. Saints just have to take care of the football though, and I feel like the matchup on paper they look like they're the slightly better team, and like I said, so when they take care of the football, they should win by hopefully 10 plus. But I don't know what are your thoughts, man. It's just hard for me to. It's nervous, man. This is just that time of year where it's hard to like. I mean, as actually like if I wasn't a fan, I'd probably feel better because I feel like on paper the Saints look really good, but as a fan, I've been through all the BS, you know, the Minneapolis Miracle, the no call, the last year's the one and done. I mean, I've just been through all that stuff, so it's like as a fan, I'm probably more nervous than I should be. But I mean,
no, for good reason, man. Look, there seems to be some weird juju going on with us when it comes to the playoffs the last 2 years, so it's perfectly reasonable to be concerned about it. I'm not happy about having to play them for the third time, but it is what it is. I do think we're gonna get the win, but I think it's not that it's gonna be an ugly game. It could be not even a shootout. Really, I think it could be somewhere in the middle.
I think it'll just be a good football game.
It'll be a good football, right? It'll
not
be
like
a good
27-24 type score.
Yeah, I think it'll be the most entertaining game of the weekend. Obviously, all eyes are going to be in because it's Brady Breeze. And yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a good football game. I think we're going to etch out the win, but I don't feel good about it. I mean, to be honest, like it is.
Yeah, because they're not the Bears. I mean, they're a lot better than the Bears. And I mean, let's be honest, the Saints' offense is not at the level it used to be. I mean, it's like it kind of sputtered some against the Bears. So I mean, I don't think it's going to be just some pleasure cruise, you know. But I definitely think that we'll get to that because I think this will happen. You know, I think we'll have the lead going into the fourth quarter, and I really hope this happens. Tom Brady's going to be doing one of his typical Tom fourth quarter comebacks, but I think he might get a little too greedy at some point and get picked off, and that'll be the end of it. That's what I can envision it because I think with the Bucs with Bruce Arians, he gets a little too pass happy. Belichick was able to kind of rein him in. Bruce Arians just like go. You know,
because he's pass happy too. So
yeah, so I mean, it's like I think Brady's gonna get a little too greedy in this one, and that's what I think is gonna ultimately get the Saints the dub. Because I mean, Drew Brees in his later years has realized that I can't be a gunslinger anymore. At this point, Tom Brady's a much more of a gunslinger than Drew Brees. Drew Brees at this point's in a way kind of like a game manager. I mean, he hadn't put up many flashy numbers this year, but the Saints have been winning football games, and that's what matters. He swallowed his pride and realized that he doesn't have to carry the team like he used to. He got Kamara, he got a great defense.
Right.
So yeah, I think the Saints get the dub and march on to the NFC title game.
Sounds good.
All right, good deal. We'll cap it off with that. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. It went a little long, but it's all good. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I know we enjoyed talking to y'all, so hope y'all enjoy watching the show. We're going to have, like I said, an episode a week for y'all. Hope to have Josh back, and we'll also have a lot of other guests along with him. Hopefully, if you want to, I mean, yeah, feel free, man. If you can't make everyone, it's all good, but hopefully you can make most of them, and we'll have a lot of guests to kind of give us some different perspectives.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Appreciate everyone that tuned in to the Guru Nation podcast. Peace.